The San Francisco 49ers defense had done enough
Oh
to keep them
yeah,
in that game.
absolutely.
I thought they still had a chance until that fumble.
I thought
It wasn't Josh Johnson. It wasn't Brock Purdy. It was the fumble.
I thought the fumble ended it as well. But I think it was 21-7 the entire third quarter.
Yeah, but it was
you couldn't even throw a pass.
But it was 21-7 with a team that couldn't score.
That's my point. That's all I'm saying. It's not
but it coincided with the fact, and this is and I feel like James, we welcome James Ham, who's just sitting here quietly while we argue, is the defense. This Chris Peterman was talking about earlier. The defense just realized we can't do it.
Defense got 2 stops in the third quarter.
I know they did. That's why I never believed that that's why I never believed that their chance was over.
But
if one of those stops became a takeaway, again, the fumble changes everything. But if one of those stops become a takeaway, then all of a sudden you're back in it. You're right there.
We agree with that. I'm talking about when you didn't have a chance. Your chance was taken away. And this was unprecedented in this game this big, where the team had a quarterback that could not pass the ball for an entire half. Like that, to me, if I'm Cincinnati, yeah, it sucks. It was a bonehead play. We lost. We didn't make a play, but we had our guys out there. We had our opportunities. That sucks. As I'll just speak as a 49ers fan, you had your opportunity ripped away from you. Like you couldn't even pass the ball for the second half of the game.
In all honesty, like I thought that was such a blow to lose Purdy early, and then again, Josh. I mean, why are we not calling out the fact that they went into an NFC Championship game with Josh Johnson as their backup quarterback? To me, that in itself
is not fair because he was actually their 4th-string quarterback. It's not
they went out and got him mid-season. That was a decision they made to bring him in and to have him be a backup. And to me, like he's never proven to be good enough. At least if you look at a guy like Chad Henne, at least he's been there for years. But
he's on a team.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but there had to be somebody that wasn't a 36-year-old.
We all know.
Say
it, James.
We all know.
They should have gone and got Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah,
we
all know.
What they should have done.
We all know. But look, in a realistic sense, what, you going to go get Cam Newton and that's going to be better?
Well, I don't think that would be better. I don't like Cam Newton wouldn't be better, but you had guys out there that you could have gone and got. Ooh. And like, I mean, I don't have a list of NFL quarterbacks that were unemployed at the time that you could have gone and got, but like, I just feel like Josh Johnson wasn't good when he was, first in the league. He's never been good. And the fact that he was the option that you had was not great. And then I'm kind of with, I don't know which of you guys took this side, but I thought the defense was bad. Like, I did. I thought that Dre Greenlaw was completely out of control and made foolish mistakes time and time again. I thought he put his team in a rough situation. He got caught on the inside on the touchdown run where he was supposed to force the guy back inside. I thought that, like the penalties, all that stuff, it all played into it. I didn't think the pass rush was good enough, which is surprising because they're supposed to have this, elite pass rush. I just didn't think it was good enough. And, here we are. Like, you got to the end of the game. If you got a quarterback who can't throw 5 yards and you're just putting him in there to snap the ball, like, what are you doing? Like, you have to have some other plan in place. You walked in with only 2 quarterbacks. Where's your emergency third quarterback? Isn't that still a thing?
Yeah, it was Christian McCaffrey.
Well, yeah, but I think by league rule, if you have a quarterback go down and then his backup go down, if you want to...
Yeah, you can't.
That's an old rule. That's not in place anymore.
So there's no more emergency third quarterback. Well,
and now today's the day everyone is screaming for that rule to come back after we had to sit through that NFC Championship last night where a team couldn't throw for the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we get to the second half and I just didn't think that they were that good in the first half. I didn't think their defense made too many mistakes. And they were like fundamental mistakes. There were not being in the moment and concentrating and, like we see the big hit out of bounds on Patrick Mahomes in the late game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like Dre Greenlaw had one of those as well. Like,
no, he didn't, James. He had one unnecessary roughness where he was trying to punch the ball out from
yeah, where he's literally punching somebody repeatedly like a crazy person.
He didn't touch the guy. He punched the ball every time.
But
now,
he also did it 30 seconds after the whistle had blown. He had lost control. And to me, like, there were some major issues throughout the game. And it started with, like, not throwing a red flag on the initial play on fourth and, if it was any other down, I understand Shanahan taking a cautious approach. It was 4th and 3. Like, you gave up a touchdown that didn't need to happen. That was a coaching mistake. I just felt like, once again, I did not think the 49ers were the better team on that day without any question, and that was before the quarterback went down.
So after let me ask James this. When it's 7-7, 7-7, middle of the second quarter, they get a stop on 3rd and 6. Pass interference is called, which is a bad call. They call pass interference, and Jimmy Ward made his contact was 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. They get the ball back with 5 minutes to go in the half. I mean, that's the defense who did all that. They scored on their opening drive, and they needed a 4th and 3rd to get that. They didn't put together. If you don't call that call, that means they didn't put together another scoring drive for the rest of the half. The defense did that. The
defense was okay. It was okay early, and the second half it wasn't good enough. It just wasn't good enough. I mean, you understood what you were up against, but still, I mean, I don't know. Like, there were too many things that went on in that game, too many decisions coming into that game that were made that, again, I can't imagine going into an NFC Championship game and my backup quarterback is Josh Johnson. And I mean, sorry. Like, that's the way it goes. I mean, you have to plan for everything, especially for a team who's on their 3rd quarterback.
Let's just be completely fair and honest. There's nobody that was out there that you'd be like, yo, I'm good with him being my backup quarterback. There's nobody out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go through the list of who's available at that point.
I'd be good with Cap, but even then, Cap hasn't played in 6-7 years. So.
Oh no, I'm not bringing Kaepernick in. No,
I'm just saying, like, it's the 4th quarterback. Like, nobody's gonna be. I'm good with him.
That's right. It's important to point out. It's not the 2nd quarterback. It's the 4th. It's just where this team was. Everyone had been monitoring Jimmy Garoppolo's health. It's like, could Jimmy Garoppolo potentially be an emergency quarterback, a backup quarterback to Brock Purdy? Could he be the starting quarterback? Well, none of that happened.
Well, Jimmy had a good time on the sideline.
I'm sure that he did.
He had a nice little smile on his face.
Yeah.
His last game as a San Francisco 49er.
Jeez.
Probably. So another drama-filled offseason at the quarterback position coming up with the San Francisco 49ers with Brock having that UCL surgery, likely having that surgery coming up, keeping him out for the next 6 months. As we welcome in the creator of the Kings Beat and our Kings insider and fired up football fan, James Ham, here on KIFM West Sacramento 98.5 FM, KRX QHD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, driven by Lasher's Elk Grove Dodge. Always live on the free Odyssey app. James will go from one poor performance to another.
Oof.
Unlike the San Francisco 49ers, the Kings got a chance to make their latest poor performance right when they take on the Minnesota Timberwolves for the second time in the last 3 days. Going back to Saturday's game, James, what stands out for you in that one?
It just was a lack of energy, intensity in the first half. Again, like, Fox finishes with a fury. He scored 21 in the fourth quarter.
21, yep. Mm-hmm.
But, like, where were you in the first quarter when your dude was going off for 23 points in the first half, Just the inability to stop somebody. And that's the game, right? They put in KZ Okpala, and first he stops short on a 3-point attempt and then runs at the basket and, like, I don't know, he airballed like an 8-foot runner, which is like one of the most difficult shots in the game, is running from the side and going baseline and trying to hit a floater. But which speaks to why you don't take that shot. And then, he took the 3-pointer the next time out and missed. And so they just abandoned it after 3 minutes completely. I thought, if you can't stop Ant-Man and you can't stop D'Angelo Russell, you got to throw some different look out there. And I would like to see more KZ. I would like to see more Davion. Whatever it wasn't working. And, you gave a team that realistically is not very good and is trying to find itself right now. You gave them life when you didn't need to. They're on the second night of a back-to-back. There were too many things going in your favor in that game, and you let it off the hook. You let them off the hook. D'Angelo Russell's killed that team how many times in his career? Like, it's just
every time.
Yeah, he just abuses them. He's one of the guys that just like his eyes light up every time he plays the Sacramento Kings. And for whatever reason that is, because we're talking about a totally different group of players, you let the guy just get off way too early. Like he was like cooking so early. And how do you not foul him? How do you not do something to disrupt him? I was just surprised. Like very, very little adjustments made early. And I know, Mike Brown calls his timeouts and was angry, and I don't blame him. That just felt like one of those games where you didn't walk in fully prepared to play, and you got your ass kicked. Pardon my French.
Yeah, Katie.
That was English.
Katie said on the broadcast, somebody needed to give him a hard foul or something. Let him know you're there. Let him feel you. I understand that. Nobody's trying to hurt anybody, but run him into a screen or something like that. So on the defensive end. But let him know like he feels entirely too free playing against the Sacramento Kings. Entirely too free. Make him work on defense, run him through some screens, something, but he just feels way too comfortable playing against those guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. You had to keep throwing different looks at him. And, I went back and looked at some of the highlights, and it wasn't all on Fox. Like, a lot of those, like, they kind of took turns. Like, at one point, you had Harrison Barnes defending him. Kevin Huerter got lit up for a couple of threes. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, though, right? He went 8 of 8 in the first half, but 7 of 7 from 3. Like, what in the world? Like, how are you not taking away the 3 ball from him? I don't get that. And so, again, the end game adjustment by the players has to happen. Like, you've got to figure something out and make that guy go work for his shot. And they didn't. And then they made the adjustment in the second half, and it didn't really matter because at that point, Anthony Edwards just took over and did the same thing that Russell did in the first half. Like, some really, really poor perimeter defense that I just, the Kings have to get better at it.
Yeah, that's something we didn't talk about earlier was the Anthony Edwards component of this, and how he may be able to play De'Aaron right out of that All-Star spot in Utah. That gets announced Thursday afternoon. I don't imagine these next that Saturday's game and tonight's game against each other are going to be ignored if those really are at least 2 of the final candidates, with perhaps Booker also being involved.
They should be ignored.
Yeah, I would have a tough time believing that they're
going to playing good ball.
He is, but if 2 games should not decide.
I don't think it should either.
50 games.
I don't think it should either. I also don't think 29 games out of 50 should decide it either. But here we are with Zion Williamson as a starter, and Devin Booker having an opportunity to get the last spot. I'm just saying it's out there.
Yeah, Fox knows what it looks like. He knows what the task at hand is, and you can only say so many times that you have the 3rd seed in the West and that you deserve 2 All-Stars. I don't disagree with that, but you can't have nights where it just doesn't come together, and it's a big game and it's important, and it's about pushing a team down. We talked about this last week. Even like with the Lakers win. That was such a huge win because you not only, beat them and pushed them deeper in the standings, but you also took a 3-1 advantage in the season series. And the Memphis game, again, you talk another huge night for the Kings because you end up tying them in the season series just in case there is a tie, because there's nothing that says that A, the Kings can't catch the Grizzlies and move up to number 2, or B, the Grizzlies can't come back down to earth and you get stuck with a 4 or 5. And I'd want as many variables as possible when it comes to home court advantage. And so those are important games. And Minnesota's a team that's charging. And we have this group of teams that are right behind the Kings now with the Clippers and the Warriors and Minnesota that are all charging at the same time. And the Kings they're on a 7-game road trip. It doesn't matter how bad the teams are you're playing. The road isn't an easy place in the NBA. I mean, the Kings are literally the only team in the Western Conference right now with above 500 record on the road. So, and they're 1 game over. So we can't just expect that at the end of this trip now, the Kings are going to be 7 games over because they just annihilated the next 6 teams. That's usually not the way it goes. So, yeah, they got to figure out a way to take care of business, especially against a team that's, ready to climb.
Go ahead.
Real quick, I just because James was talking about the teams surging, and it reminds me. I told you before the commercial break. Remind me about losing. And when we look at the Western Conference here, and going into tonight's game, the Kings have done a really good job at responding. Mm-hmm. Virtually the entire year, they've responded to games. Now they have a stretch where they've lost 2 in a row. I don't think they've lost more than 2 in a row for a while. Mm-hmm. Like this how they respond to tonight's game is important. But when you look at the makeup of the Western Conference, New Orleans, Phoenix, Portland, like Dallas, they've all had like brutal stretches of, like, look at this. Portland, during a stretch of the season, they lost 11 of 13. The Jazz at one point, they lost 7 of 8. The Suns, 12 of 14. The Clippers at one point lost 9 of 11. The Dallas Mavericks at one point lost 7 of 9 this year. The Sacramento Kings have been, even with losing 4 straight at the beginning of the year, they've been able to avoid losing stretches like that for the most part. Yeah. And it's why tonight's game feels important, and why a lot of that, the whole conference could shift in a week is a bit silly when you look at how all of these teams have just had like some of the most dramatic lows and dramatic highs all throughout the year. It's been a really, really strange season so far. It's difficult to make heads of tails of who's good. But the one thing I can say, James, before you continue, is the Kings are the one team that hasn't had that stretch. And I left out the Lakers in those because they've basically been that all year. They've basically been in that position they're at all year. Of all of these teams, the Kings are the one that have not had that losing stretch.
I think you forgot to mention the Pelicans have lost 8 in a row right now. I mean,
I absolutely did forget to mention the Pelicans.
Yeah, the Pelicans are the team. I mean, they were the 3 seed before the Kings were the 3 seed. Mm-hmm. I mean, talk about hitting rock bottom. And they don't even have, they don't know when Zion will be back. Like, will Zion even be back for the All-Star game? I don't even think we know. And it seems like a Zion move that he'd show up the day before and, be ready to play and then go play in the All-Star game. But, who knows? I mean, that's very, very much what his career has been like. And the Kings have an opportunity here. You're still facing sub 500 teams. What do we got? 2 on the road trip now that are above 500? Maybe not even 2. There's an opportunity here, and you got to.
Well, it's Minnesota tonight and the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how far over 500 are the Pelicans at this point?
That's a great question. I just thought of that with all those games that they've lost in a row. They are 26 and 25.
Yeah. So by the time the Kings face them, will they be a 500 team? I don't know. So, yeah, you got to take care of what's in front of you game by game. And but you owe Minnesota a big one. And so I'd like to see the Kings not look so frustrated, not look so discombobulated. I felt like in that game, Sabonis was yelling and screaming for the ball the whole game. There wasn't a lot of flow. He didn't have a bunch of assists like he has in the past. It was almost like he wanted to show that Rudy Gobert has no business being in the All-Star mention, and he's just going to run him over. So I don't know what that was all about, but there wasn't the same flow that we've seen from this team most of the season, and you got to find ways to step up. You got to have everybody step up in a game like tonight's game.
Nuggets and Pelicans tomorrow night, TNT.
Who he root for?
Nuggets, yeah, absolutely the Nuggets. Go Mike Malone and my Nikola Jokic.
Do work.
My guy.
Do work. To this game today, though, I agree with everything that you just said, James. And, I personally went into this 2-game series with Minnesota is, you just got to get one of them. Get one of them at the very least.
Yep.
It doesn't matter which one. It literally doesn't matter which one. If they were to win on Saturday and lose today, you got the one of the two that you needed. The fact that they lost on Saturday, and if they win tonight, all is right with the world. And that's the way I look at this one. You still have what your initial goal was, your worst case scenario at the very beginning. You still have that attainable. You still have that in front of you. Go out and play a good game tonight and get a W. You let D'Angelo Russell go off in the first half. You let Anthony Edwards go off in the second half. Try and do a better job of making sure they don't go off. Make it hard on them to get buckets. And if you do that, I think you'll be able to score enough to get a victories. But the goal is still right there. There's nothing to stress about.
Yeah, and I think with Minnesota, they're the last year they haven't been a great 3-point shooting team, and so I think that was part of it. They came in right now they're 19th in the league in 3-point percentage. They're also only 19th in the league in 3-point attempts, and so part of the idea was to limit how many times they got into the key and like slow them down at the basket, which has been the biggest issue for the Kings. Like how do you give up all these points in the paint? And they didn't need to score in the paint because they were hitting everything they took outside. And so it becomes like this weird thing where the Kings, even though they're not a horrible team at defending the three, they still give up a high percentage of shots. Teams just come in very confident. If you look at like how many shots they take that are well defended, that are closely contested, they do a good job at it. And it's just in a game like that, Russell is a little different in that he likes to shoot a ton off the dribble. He's not doing hardly anything as like a catch and shoot three guy. And you just got to stay in front of him and get up tight on him. And then if he picks up a couple of fouls, that's fine. But he's also not a guy that usually gets a ton of foul calls.
Mike Brown was critical of the defense again following this game, and it was the first time I think he, at least that I can remember, you certainly would be more familiar with this than I, but it was the first time I remember him saying, the way we're winning games that's not how this isn't going to work long term. And I think he used the term fool's gold, which was very reminiscent of a Dave Yeager remark from the famous 39 win year that the Kings had not too long ago. What did you think about what Mike Brown said in that post game? And is that just his latest attempt to get this team to step up a little bit on the defensive end?
Yeah, this has been an epic battle for Mike Brown all season long. He's a defensive-minded guy. He hates that his team is, 23rd right now in defensive rating. And the only reason why they're 23rd, because they haven't got better, they've gotten worse, is that other teams have also gotten worse. Like the whole entire league is it like half the league is 113 and above in defensive rating. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And the Kings will start out a night 25th. They'll give up a bunch of points and get killed, and they'll somehow move up to 23rd. And that's just because, again, the league isn't playing a lot of defense right now at all, which is why you keep seeing like 50-point games almost every single night in the league. It's totally bizarre. But like Mike is going to keep harping on this throughout the year. It absolutely kills him that this team doesn't play defense. It's the same thing with Michael Malone when he was here. You can talk about Dave Yeager. Dave is more of a defensive-minded, slow it down guy. But he still, he did the crazy running thing because that's all he had. And I don't think that's what all Mike Brown has. Mike Brown has an intricate, refined, efficient offense. It's still ranked number 1 in the league in offensive rating and number 1 in the league in points per game. It's just stunning. But these guys have to figure out ways to make stops. And we can't say that they can't do it. I mean, they just, what was the fourth quarter? They outscored Memphis 33-4. 30-4 or 33-4 in the final 9:59 of the fourth quarter. So that came with a bunch of defensive stops and a bunch of really good looks on the offensive end, but it has to be consistent. And we're seeing good teams are able to disrupt what the Kings do. Long teams, teams that are physical, they're able to disrupt what the Kings are doing. And when their offense goes away, their defense is already so bad that you can't keep up. And that's really tough.
Let me ask you something, James. You have probably better insight than almost everybody, probably everybody into this in the media. But do you think there's like Mike Malone talks to them about needing to getting better on the defensive end, and in the same breath gasses them up, so to speak, with what they can do on the offensive end? Talked about this earlier, like talking to them, saying, "Hey, man, you guys got to be better defensively. This isn't going to get it done. We got to be a better defensive team because we already know we're going to score, and can't nobody score with us. Can't nobody score with us. We're going to do what we do. Can't nobody score with us. Now, if we play defense, we can be even that more legal." Is it that, or is it after they put up 120? That's fool's gold. That's not good enough. Y'all need to play defense. That's not it. Like, I think there's potentially a difference in the two messages and like what you're trying to get across. How do you think he, talks to the team in that respect?
Okay, so like, I think there's like a misconception. Like, that's why we talk about defensive ratings, offensive ratings, and net ratings, right? So you can have a game where you give up 130 points, and if you score 143, you stomped on somebody. So it's the 13-point differential, if you will, that makes sense, that makes more matters more to Mike Brown than it is, how many points they give up. So again, if this team is scoring 135 and they're giving up 125, he's not going to be necessarily happy that they're giving up 125, but you start factoring things like pace of play, efficiency, like there's all kinds of things that you start stacking into the equation. So does Mike Brown want this to be a great defensive team? Yes. Does he know that right now he's got to win however he's got to win? Yes. That's the answer. Like, he knows what he's up against, and he's fighting all season long to make them better defensively, to have an identity on that side of the court. But at the end of the day, as long as they're winning, he's probably going to be okay. You can find a defensive player of the game when you give up 130 points, as long as you win. And so he's got to keep that in mind, and I think he does. He wants more, and he's hoping for more, and he's demanding more. But at the end of the day, he's looking at something other than how many points his team gave up in each individual night.
It's an interesting tightrope Mike Brown has to walk right now. Like, I think when you brought that up earlier about gassing up the offense, well, hey, guys, while we're at it, why don't we work on being really good at this end? And that's kind of what we were talking about, James, is that they've shown – you mentioned the Memphis game, and I used that example earlier. They mentioned they've had spurts of, like, really good defense, and it's like, okay, having those in the fourth quarter of a tight game, that's awesome. But, like, if D'Angelo Russell's starting to cut loose in the first, you think you maybe do it then? Maybe sometime in the second quarter, maybe instead of, one burst at the end, you're able to throw in a couple of competent minutes throughout the other 36 minutes or whatever before the fourth quarter and try to build on that rather than, let's just go shot for shot. If we get to stop here, we get to stop there. That's good, but let's just go shot for shot, and then we'll ramp things up in the fourth quarter when the team has all the confidence in the world that they could do anything they want with your defense.
I think a lot of times you might be right, but it's about the quality of shot. It's about how you're getting the shot. Like, if you're giving up 70 points in the paint, you're going to lose almost, I'd say, like 85, 90% of the time. Like, if you're giving up that many points in the paint, that means that they're shooting some ridiculous percentage. And that's not even factoring in the fact this team isn't a good, like, offensive rebounding team. They're a good defensive rebounding team. They're still in the top 5 as far as defensive rebounding. But if teams are, like, scoring efficiently, that's one thing. You get into games sometimes. The Minnesota game is probably the best example where a team just doesn't miss. Like, a guy like D'Angelo Russell, it doesn't matter what you did, he just didn't miss. And, I do think that there are ways that you can knock him off his line and make things a lot more difficult. But, like, how many guys are going to hit 7 wide open threes and a half? Like, and I don't even think they were all wide open. So, like, sometimes you're up against that, but that's not what Mike Brown's concerned with. Yes, he's frustrated by that fact that one guy, like, lit you up. It's that you have games where it's literally, we'll go back to the Toronto game. Precious Achua and Chris Boucher just ran a layup drill on you. Like, they ran a layup drill for at least like 10, 15 plays. Those guys just had one dunk after another. And at some point, somebody's got to step up and hit somebody or adjust the defensive scheme so they stop getting right to the basket every time. And that's what frustrates Mike more than the fact that some guy goes crazy and goes 7 of 7 from 3.
We'll come back. We'll talk more with our 1320 Kings insider, James Ham. And a quick mention, 1 week from today, Lindsey Harding will join us on the show. Sacramento Kings assistant coach. And my favorite Duke Blue Devil, man. We'll talk to her again 1 week from today. Make your plans to be with us. Lindsey Harding will be a part of the show. And James Ham will as well. And we'll talk to him more when we return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Oh, man.
Right now, my Texas versus Oklahoma State women's basketball.
Hey, James, give me 1 second. I gotta take you off the screen. I gotta try something here real quick. Hang on 1 second. I don't know. Oh, I can see. It does look. Yeah. I got you, Donnie. I see it. Okay.
It's a good look.
Yeah, I see. I didn't see. I see it now. I got you, Donnie. I don't know if Don's still watching, but he sent that over. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that, Hammer.
Oh, no stress. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I wanted something to put on the screen, so Don made us a little D'Lo and KC Golden One Center to put up. Well, I like that too. Maybe we put that. Do some stuff with this, Don. Appreciate you, man. Oh man, who you got, Hammer? Philly or KC? You going with your guy?
I'm going with my guy.
Yeah.
Whether they win or not, like I don't know. I think the Eagles are the best team in football right now. I've thought that for a couple of weeks. Like, without Hurts going down at the final couple of games of the season, I thought he was the MVP. And then I think it's pretty clear that who the MVP is. I mean, it's Mahomes at this point, and it was Mahomes at the end of the season, but it's because Hurts missed those couple of games. He was so good. And I don't even think he's 100%.
He's really good.
Yeah, Lake Show, would you trade Rashawn Holmes and a second-round pick for Crowder and Biyombo? Yeah, I would, but the Phoenix Suns wouldn't. Yeah,
the Bucks offer for Crowder was like, okay, they going out there to get it. I mean, and granted, that could be a championship acquisition for Milwaukee. I don't fault them at all for that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Who got permission to seek a trade today? Oh, it was Jay Crowder. That's who it was.
Yeah, Jay Crowder. But what was that deal? It was George Hill,
Serge
Ibaka,
and
George
one more.
Hill.
Yeah, it was
George
one more,
Hill's
right?
in there.
Yeah, George Hill, Serge. I feel like it was one more guy.
Yeah.
It was one more guy. I don't know why I'm forgetting what guy it is. And then they said a second.
Yeah, it was a haul.
Yeah. Oh, Nawara. There it is. Yeah. Thanks, John Poles.
Why does Butcher Boy tweet in all caps?
He said that's part of his brand.
Oh, okay. He's shy to man.
Shy to man.
Man, like Beam Team guy, I don't see your earlier post. Let's see. Is that all it is? That's what you're hitting me with? I'm confused.
James, when are you guys recording the King's Beat?
The next podcast?
Yeah.
Probably tomorrow night. Tomorrow someday.
Ask Sean what song Rihanna's gonna lead her halftime performance with.
Okay.
I think it is We Found Love.
I think so too.
I think she's either gonna start with that or end with it.
I'm gonna listen to that shit on the way home. That's the song that you sing. We found love in a home.
That's my song. I love that song.
She need to do at least one of the old school joints because I don't think she's gonna do both of them. I think she should do SOS. Ponder replay still hits, but
yeah,
I want to hear SOS.
I like SOS better. Yeah, should do SOS.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so Beam Team is saying he has some insider information.
Oh boy,
that the Kings are possibly making a play for Jordan Nwora via Milwaukee. Have you heard the same info, as well as possibly a three-way with Milwaukee, Suns, and Kings? I haven't heard that. There is a name I've heard, but I'm not throwing it out here. Like as of right now, I'm not going to throw it out there because I don't know how far away that is or if there's something going on. But a small trade that, to be honest with you, it doesn't really move the needle.
Did you, either one of you guys, did you see, dang, I wish I could find it. Did you see Russell Westbrook walking past that kid who asked?
Oh, no. He leave a kid hanging?
Oh, he more than left him hanging. I need to find.
Oh, no.
I feel like that was a setup, though.
I think it was, no, and that's why I don't blame him, because I think it was a setup. And
wait, what happened?
And in the game, at the Celtics game, he like took the time and super signed somebody's autograph. So dang, I wish I could find it. I wish I would have kept it.
I got the vibes of like a TikTok guy who like brings this kid around, tells people like, "Oh yeah, this is my favorite."
Oh wait, I did see that.
I heard
that
guy,
that was...
his whole Instagram is asking for autographs.
I'm not even sure, but yeah, that felt pretty fake.
But Russ, the way Russ walked by him, man. Oh man, it was hilarious.
My favorite Russ thing is this. This is my new favorite.
Congrats on making the 24,000.
Was that him with the kid reporter?
Yeah. I can't believe it took us this long to ask James. By the way, James, we're back live on the radio. Probably should have mentioned that.
All right.
We're back. Have you been losing sleep, James?
Oh, yeah.
NBA officials are tweeting how they're losing sleep over missed calls late in games, and I'm just wondering, Hammer, you cover the league as closely as anyone. Are you losing sleep also?
I'm embarrassed for the league. I'm embarrassed because
that seems to be the consensus.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go back. It was like 3 years ago. The Kings and Lakers were in a heated battle in LA, and it came down to the Kings were up 1 with I want to say like 5 seconds left, and Harrison Barnes was defending LeBron James at the top of the key. LeBron bull rushed him. Barnes held his ground. LeBron stuck a forearm into Barnes's face and shoved him to the floor, and then fell back and missed a shot. And they not only was it not called an offensive foul, they gave LeBron 2 free throws, which gave the Lakers the win. And then the last 2-minute report came out and very definitively said it was an offensive foul on LeBron James, and Harrison Barnes should have been awarded 2 free throws at the other end because they were in the penalty. Anyway, like there was no like cry for me moment from the league when they botched the call early in the season with Tyler Hero. There was no call when De'Aaron Fox was hit on the arm. They didn't even acknowledge that on the second against the Lakers, right? It was Russ that ran up and hit him on a 3-point attempt. Like all of these calls that they're talking about. Yeah. Like
play. Yep.
For them to like not only like botch the call on LeBron, but then to admit it and like smooch his behind. Like, I don't get that. To me, that was the most embarrassing thing I've seen from the league in a long time. I mean, Kings fans are still waiting for their apology for Game 6 of the 2002, Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Like to have the officials come out and say something so pathetic. Really, that's what it was. It was just like bowing down to King James. Like, hey man, like how many times has that guy got a call that he didn't deserve? And You know what he should have got? He should have got a technical for being completely embarrassing on the court and making a complete scene. I remember a game where DeMarcus Cousins clapped loudly 3 times and got a technical. You got LeBron James out there like looking like Willem Dafoe in what was that, Platoon, raising his hands to the air, and you're just like, hey man, like, we get it, the helicopter just left you. That in itself, that play in itself, what LeBron was doing is an affront to the officials. It's an embarrassment to the officials, just like Patrick Beverley walking over with the camera and flipping through shots.
This guy.
That is a technical in itself. And so, like, enough with the BS. Like, yeah.
Okay. I'd be clear. I popped for the Patrick Beverley move,
that
though.
Was crazy.
No, it was crazy.
I've never seen anything like that
like,
before.
Pat Bev had counted his money out for the fine, set it on the scorer's table, and went out there. He knew exactly what he was getting. You know?
That was amazing. My man just held the camera up to the official. That was incredible.
Yeah. Somebody get that platoon shot, you know, of when he's getting left.
This is how people feel when we make references they don't understand.
Probably.
Because I don't.
How could you guys have missed Platoon? I mean, come on. Platoon? Oh, it's an incredible Vietnam movie.
No, I don't.
Charlie Sheen. Yeah, like, no, Platoon's incredible. Yeah.
I saw Saving Private Ryan in class one time in high school.
In class?
Yeah.
How long was the class?
Well, we watched it like all week.
3 days.
We watched it like all week.
Teacher didn't feel like working that week, boy.
That all I remember about that movie is the opening scene. That was a lot.
Oh, I don't remember the movie
around,
too well.
Like looking for his arm, like, oh, there's my arm.
Yeah.
Picks it up. It's like, Jesus, goodness.
A William Dafoe reference on D-Lo and KC. I don't
know. Where else would I know William Dafoe from?
If anyone laid a wager for that, man, you are rich.
Where else might I know him from, James?
He's been in a lot of movies. He's a great actor. Let's see. I
know the name.
Boondock Saints.
I know the Boondocks.
And then the secondary one. He was also in Spider-Man. He was
okay.
The Green Goblin. Yeah, the Green Goblin.
Yeah, he was in the Spider-Man joint. You know who this guy is.
Wait a minute. Is it old Spider-Man?
Nah, this dude.
Tobey Maguire.
That dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do know him.
Just pull up the cover. Just pull up the cover of Platoon. I'm sure it's an iconic shot. Tom Berenger is a jerk and leaves
movies. I know him.
Oh, he's a great actor.
Isn't Tom Berenger the dude in Major League?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tom Berenger's been in a million things too.
You know who John Witherspoon is? I just want to get us back on the same level playing field here.
I'm gonna need to.
John Witherspoon basically plays Pops in every movie that he's in.
Okay.
Pop, chicken pop.
Have you seen Boomerang?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so
I made a Boomerang reference on here.
You did.
You did
about the toes, the bad toes.
Very nice. Hammer Time. It was Hammer Time in the show. John Witherspoon is the guy who says you got to coordinate. You coordinate. He was David Alan Greer's dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, James.
And I know who David Alan Greer is.
David Alan Greer,
of course.
The Spider-Man that William Dafoe was in, Green Goblin. Wow. That's not even CGI. The special effects is horrible. Oh. You would think it was made in 1987, and it was like
age. For its age, it wasn't bad.
Oh, it's because it comes on like FX every now and then, and we'll see. Oh, Spider-Man's on, thinking it's the one with the what's the new guy? We like the one with the new
idea.
Guy.
I can't.
I like the one with the new guy,
Tom Holland.
Yeah. Tom Holland. Yeah, I like the one with Tom Holland. So we'll turn it on there thinking it's a Tom Holland one, but it's what's the name? Tobey Maguire.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those. Oh my gosh, the special effects are trash. Batman-like.
Batman. Like what Batman?
Batman.
I'll tell you,
Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's Batman-like, and this thing was made in 2002.
The new the new Spider-Man where they bring all 3 Spider-Men together, Willem Dafoe is back in that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, all the villains are back.
Yeah.
We have ventured into a world
a weird.
Yeah, very.
Tom Holland and Zendaya. Those are the best Spider-Mans.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe though. Willem Dafoe's an actor you guys should know. I mean, he's
no, I know the name. Stop being so judgmental. I know his name. Now, I needed to see his face. Now I know exactly who he is.
As I look here, he's in Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The new one. Yeah, he's in it. They bring everyone back. Yeah.
Again, I did not expect this at all, but I guess we'll do our William Dafoe homework here.
There you go.
What Kings player is most like William Dafoe?
Trey Lyles.
Huh. Well, I don't know. Strong carry. That's a good question.
Can play a war veteran. Can play a comic book villain.
Yeah. Huh.
Harrison Barnes.
No, I'd say it's probably closer to Fox, but yeah, because even if you watch Dafoe, if you watch Platoon, William Dafoe in that is like intense. Like he's like a total leader, and like he kills many people. It's intense.
It's funny you mentioned like 2 actors who I know for like comedy in this war movie, and Tom Berenger and Charlie Sheen. And it's like, wait a minute, this is like a serious war movie?
Yeah, it's kind of the height of Charlie Sheen before he starts doing again like Major League. Like him, well, it's probably right around Major League, but also like a lot of the weird stuff he does, the funny stuff. It's probably around the same time as the movie he does with his brother, where they're the garbage guys, the garbage men at work.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Him and Emilio Estevez.
I remember the great.
I'm one of the few people who found 2.5 Men funny.
It's fine. I
enjoy it.
It's because it comes on these channels.
I think John Cryer is fantastic.
So the great, I can say this because he's a legend and he's not working anymore. But the great Gary Radnich at KBR used to always say, the highest paid actor on that show should be the kid. He's the half man. They don't have a half man without the kid. So he should go in. If Charlie Sheen, would he make a million every episode? I want 1.5.
That's a stupid ass analogy. That is ridiculous.
1.5. I need 1.5.
That's dumb. He wasn't even vital to the show. He was barely a part of it.
Okay, so he's gone. Is it 2.5 Men anymore?
Yes.
How?
Because that's still what they called it.
It's 2.5 men.
They sent the kid off to military school.
It's 2 men and the little boy. That's the half man.
No, that kid was gone for like 3 years.
Well,
and it was still 2.5
when he got
men.
older. That I don't know what happened, but he's talking about when he was a kid, when the show first started.
They could have just.
We've side railed this.
How are they gonna rename the show?
Gary read that was Gary.
What do you mean they gonna rename?
Sorry, everyone. My bad.
That was an absolutely awful take on his part. It is shameful.
What do you mean they gonna rename the show?
You could have done anything you wanted with the show. That kid was not important.
2.5 Men.
That kid was not important to the show. You could have just marched a new kid in every episode, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, he was good. He was a good actor.
Oh, he was until they like. I think he found God and realized I can't be on this show anymore.
Good for him.
See, I'm here with Blake. Charlie Sheen killed it in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's facts.
That's
facts.
I vaguely
he was
remember
very,
that
very
show.
good in that.
I ain't that movie.
He was
the
Jennifer
druggie.
Grey. Yeah.
When she gets
small
put down on a seat, like at the police station for when she's going to turn and she's trying to turn in Principal Rooney. Yeah.
This
it's a good scene.
This. So what Kings player is most like Ferris Bueller then? I don't.
Most like
I'm gonna say it's Malik Monk.
Oh, that's a good call right there.
Yeah,
that's a great call right there. Malik Monk could definitely be Ferris Bueller.
I got to get back into my realm. Which Kings player is most like O-Dog?
Wait.
Davion, absolutely Davion Mitchell.
If you're gonna have Malik Monk as Ferris Bueller,
I don't remember. Like I just remember him at the Cubs game. That's all I remember.
You would have to have Keegan Murray as Cameron. That's who he would have to be.
That is flawless.
Yeah, he would have to be
emotionless, expressionless.
When Cameron was in Egypt's land.
Let
my
Cameron
Cameron go.
That is absolutely Keegan Murray.
You
That
can
is
totally see
tremendous.
Keegan like just me and
Straight
Sean
face the whole movie.
Me and Sean Cunningham sit next to each other every game, and in their intro, it's all this. Everyone's doing all this flashy stuff. They're spinning, and Keegan Murray's standing there like this. Sean laughs every time. Like, you couldn't get anything better than him just deadpanning, looking at the ceiling. Like, come on, man. Yeah.
That is tremendous. Mike Brown is Principal Rooney then trying to get his team to play defense. What type of adjustments do you think we see tonight? We talked about this earlier, and I think this is important to point out that in these moments, the Kings have responded like time after time after. Hey, the Kings are going to have to respond. They got roughed up. Hey, the Kings defense is going to have to respond. This happened in the last game. They've done a great job at responding all year. What does that look like, though, in this second matchup against Minnesota tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you got to shut down the perimeter guys. You got to do a better job of making their shots more difficult, and you can't let D'Angelo Russell be the guy who beats you. I mean, if he scores 20, that's fine. I know last game he only scored 26, but again, it comes down to how he scored it. 23 of it came in the first half. And you can't let those two guys be dueling banjos and just torch you. I also, look, I get it. Fox is amazing in the fourth quarter. Like, give me something in the first. Give me something in the second. I think he was 0 of 4 in the first quarter. Like, he was quiet. And I look back and over the last, since he came back from the foot problem, right? He had a sore foot. He's shooting 28% from 3. And that's over, 25 games or something. Like, he's got to, figure out the 3-point shot. Like, they just aren't quite. They were firing on all cylinders. Now they're not again. And I'll also point out, when the Kings won 7 early in the season, they lost their next 3. They won 6 this time, and then they lost 1, won 1, lost 2, so they've lost 3 out of 4. Winning, a big long win streak like that, it does take its toll. It, emotionally, physically, you're in every single game, you're fighting, you're trying to put up as many points as possible, and then you start building and the excitement and everything. Teams usually do come down pretty hard off of a couple of big wins or a win streak. And so I think this is, again, to be expected from this team. I would be surprised if we didn't see a much better effort in tonight's game.
I want to see somebody stand up to Naz Reid. Naz Reid killed him on Saturday. And
future King Naz Reid, question mark?
I wish.
Question mark.
I wish Naz Reid can play. But I need to see, Trey Lyles, Chimezie Metu, whatever starter is still in there when Naz Reid is playing. I need to see them stand up and match his intensity, match his gameplay. He had I can't remember what the final numbers were, but I know just watching the game, he was very impactful on that game on Saturday. And I need somebody to match his energy and look to outplay him.
Yeah, I mean, some of the problems that you have is that when perimeter players get going like they did against the Kings, Naz Reid had 14 points and 2 rebounds, 6 of 9 from the field, and 1 of 4 from 3. That's interesting. He has expanded his range. Yeah, but when you have to start concentrating a lot more of your attention on 1 or 2 players on the perimeter, it really does. You're giving up something else. You're going to make somebody go one-on-one against Naz Reid, who's very athletic and very strong. It's kind of a good combo. And the fact that he can shoot the 3, he is a nice fit. If I were the Kings, I would be looking at him because if he could play some 4, that would be really interesting. Whether he can or not, whether they're going to get rid of him or not, I don't know.
Have you noticed what traits during a game really get Keegan going? It feels like, I mean, he had moments, he had those career high games. He was regularly hitting 20, and then he just kind of had a down night. It's not being overly critical. It's just, is there some formula to what really gets Keegan going?
Yeah, it's shots. I mean, he's
the volume.
Yeah, he's like a lot of players, especially when they're young in the league. He only took 8 shots in the loss. If you're not getting your shots, you usually are pretty quiet. And For a guy like him who has shown, I mean, he's been so incredibly good, especially from three. I mean, what he's doing, what's he shooting, like 50 plus percent since like mid-December from three. Like, he's been on fire. But if he doesn't get the opportunities, even if you go back to the game where he scored 29, he only took 12 shots. Like, he scored 29 points on 12 shots, and he only got to the free throw line for 4 free throws. So again, 5
he
of 7
didn't get
from
to the
three.
free throw line at all the other night.
Yeah, he hasn't got to the line in 2 straight games. He needs to figure out, like, what is the happy medium. We saw the big rebounding games, the 10, the 14, and 9 and 3 out of 4 games. But then he's back to 3 rebounds, 4 rebounds. When he rebounds, he's usually a lot more active. But man, if you keep feeding that kid, he ends up putting up numbers. Like, he's only taken 10 or more shots in 22 games. And I don't know what the Kings' records are in those games, but I'm going to guess it's pretty good. He's a guy that you need to get more looks for, especially with the way he's shooting the ball from the perimeter.
Kings score 114 tonight. You think they win?
Yes.
The numbers say, James, 113 or less, the team's 3-15.
Oof.
Which means they're 24-6 when they score 114 or more.
Score.
Score, everybody.
Up here there isn't going to hurt anybody. Just
score.
Yeah.
Maybe no 30-point outings from anyone on Minnesota tonight.
That'll help.
James, you think they respond?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they're ready. They know how big this 7-game trip is. They know how big crushing Minnesota would be for their playoff chances and for and hurting Minnesota's as well. This is a game that it's one of the teams you're going to be competing with down the stretch, whether that's for a 3 seed or a 5 seed or a 6 seed or a 7 seed. It doesn't matter. They're still going to be in there with you. And it's an interesting team, that's for sure. They've got a lot of length. They got a lot of athleticism. I don't know that they get better when Karl Anthony Towns comes back, because he's not a great defender, and that's kind of what they've been living on, is a little bit of defensive punch. But yeah, I think the Kings are going to come out tonight with some pretty lofty goals to take it to a team and to get ready for what's coming. They've got a group of games here where they can really make some headway if they keep focused.
Hawks, Raptors, Nets. We're rooting for all of them tonight. We could root for the Detroit Pistons too. It feels a little sketchy against Dallas, but we'll just root for all of them.
Luka's playing.
Luka's playing.
Root for all of them tonight, and then of course root for the Sacramento Kings.
Go Pistons! What up?